Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Comics Only, the only podcast where comedians talk with other comedians. My guest today is writer, comedian, and awesome person, Sylvia Remington. What's up, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me here.
No problem. I'm glad you could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been doing comedy now?
I've been doing comedy about like a little over 2 years, maybe
2
two and a
years,
half.
yeah.
So not that long. It feels like I've only done it a year.
So short. It's like 2 years is like just like when you start to get your feet under you a little bit, and you're like, you're like, oh, I kind of like know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like you start to have better sets more consistently.
I don't know about me, but lately it's been getting worse. But the one thing I've noticed, like the first year, you're like, oh, everything's great in comedy, or this is what I was thinking. Everything's great. Everybody's so nice and everything, and oh, I'm good at this. And then the more I do it, the more I realize how much I need to learn. Much more. Yeah,
there's that for sure. There's a strange like eagerness when you're first into it, and you don't really realize how much you don't know and how kind of like adorable you look to people who've been doing it 10 years or whatever.
I never understood that. They're like, oh, you're new, you're happy.
Yeah, exactly. And just you're still looking forward to this.
Yeah, exactly. Is this okay? The
it's
closest?
perfect.
Okay,
You're good.
Yeah, no, when I first started, I honestly thought all comedians were just really nice, kind, happy people because they were doing comedy. I was so stupid.
That's the most naive thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
And I'm older. You would think I would have not been that naive, but I was so naive. And so then when people were just gross, I'm talking about just like, I don't know. People.
Oh, you mean like sexual assaulters? Yeah.
No, not even that. Just like
I'm
dark,
kidding, but also not kidding at the same time.
Like people just, everybody comes from a different walk of life because for us to be on the stage, there's got to be some stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem with an
an
open mic is you can't tell anybody no. Yeah, that's what's wrong with comedy.
Yeah. Doing it a little over 2 years, and I really feel like I just started, and I'm just starting to learn how to write a joke.
Hey, Sylvia, you should feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel that way at 4 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I just started, and I'm embarrassingly new.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed of how I acted when I was a year in.
Yeah.
For sure. But, like, I also understand it. I see it in everybody. You're excited to be doing comedy, and you don't realize that you're not good yet. Comedy, I think constantly you're like, you always feel like you're good, like right now. Yeah. And then I can look back and be like, a month ago I was bad. Yeah. And it's like, I always feel that way. So it's like, realistically, I'm just bad always, and I'm not good at. Like,
I get excited when somebody's laughing. Like that. Yeah. That comedy contest at Stir Crazy where I actually did all my bits and it was tight and my timing was on and I wasn't saying a lot of ums or anything.
Yeah.
And I did really well and everybody laughed at all the punchlines. I'm like, oh, that's what that's supposed to be like all the time when you do comedy is just have that setup, punchline, laugh. Punchline, laugh. And it felt really good. So hopefully more of that in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if you're... It's not like that set's going to be a one-time thing, Sylvia.
It felt like it, because ever since I've been bombing hard.
Yeah, but sometimes, bombing's part of this. I hate comics who are afraid to bomb, so. Like, I was just listening to a different podcast that I won't name, because this is a podcast where two comedians were talking about bombing.
That's crazy talk.
And one of the comics said something that I loved. He's like, I love bombing. Bombing's how you get better. Like,
I need to learn how to love it because I don't love it yet.
Yeah, it takes time.
But then there's certain kinds of bombs. Like, for me, I realized yesterday, when I was driving back from that gig, I realized there's certain bombs like where nobody's paying attention and nobody's talking and it's just quiet and they just walk away. Those are the worst to me.
Yeah,
but like yesterday, that show we did and everybody was talking. But then I come from a family where everybody talked, and so I'm like, this challenge accepted. I'm gonna just like try to steamroll, but that didn't.
The worst bombs to me are the ones where it's like a hot crowd and everybody, including comics, like that you don't respect,
they do really
are doing well, and then you just go up and you don't. Even like an okay set in that situation feels like a bomb. Like, even if they just like. Even just seeing somebody that like you think is garbage do like really good and then you do okay, that can hurt.
Yeah.
But like if everybody's bombing, then it's like, oh, they just weren't in a good mood tonight.
Yeah,
but, like,
exactly.
you know, like, and alternatively, doing well in that situation can feel really good.
Yeah.
If everybody's bombing and you're like the only one that gets them.
You want me to tell you my worst bomb ever?
Sure, why not?
Hey, why not? So I think it was like 6 months into comedy. And at that point, I was going to a lot of mics, but I was mostly like the ones I felt the most supported were the like all female ones. And anytime I go up on stage, they'd say, "You're great. You're so hilarious. You're great." And I started losing perspective. I didn't realize
Of what men thought about you.
No. Well, yeah, kind of. No, but it wasn't even just that. You know, if you're in rooms, okay, it's so nice to have supportive rooms, but it's so important to go to all the mics, because after that, I started going to all the mics. I mean, I was kind of going to quite a few, but I was like, oh, they're the ones who get me. But the thing is there were quite a few people that were just laughing because they're just being supportive laughter. So I was...
it's dangerous.
It's so dangerous because what happened is... And then I was put on a lot of their shows, and it was all like females supporting females, and I don't know. And now I'm like, okay, you need to do it all. But so so that is the environment, you know, and I'm like, everything I do is wonderful. I'm just natural comedian, which I wasn't funny, but they were fake laughing. So I got asked, somebody dropped out of a all black room that a lot of those rooms are like, they call them urban rooms. And somebody asked me,
not me, they.
Yeah. Well, and I grew up like, first of all, I don't actually know the culture. I grew up around like mostly Southern Arizona and Mexico culture. So first of all, I never watched any like Comic View or any of that. And so anyways, somebody asked me, hey, can you do 10 minutes? And I'd at that point never done 10 minutes. And they said, can you do this room? It's urban room. And I didn't even know what that was, but I was like, I'm me. I'm happy. I can do my stuff. And I go to this room, and there's this really amazing comedian, Monte Benjamin. He performs all over. And I walked in, and he was the host. And he goes, oh, you're coming to see the show? And I said, no, I'm performing. And he said, hell no. And I was like, what? I'm peppy. I'm happy. I'm going to bring it. And he's like, I'm scared for you. And I was like, it's fine. It's fine. And then it's this big crowd. I didn't know. It was like a Valentine's Day crowd. I didn't know you're supposed to dress up because people dress nice. And they're all dressed up. I'm wearing jeans and a T-shirt and just look gross. And then so I'm like the first person on the stage. And I start my set with doing the Running Man, which was so bad. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was so stupid. It was like the worst ever. And then I said something like, does it look like I came off the streets and I lost my way? And that was the only response. I go, And then I proceeded to tell them my stripper story where I'm a horrible stripper, which they could not relate because they're like, people don't know how to strip, you know? And so I did that, and I'm like hokey. And then what happened is is a room of 400 people. About 200 of them, after my first little bit, stood up and walked out to go get drinks.
Yeah.
And then the second part of it, they just turned their backs on me and just talked amongst themselves. It was the worst ever. My second bit was skydiving, which they couldn't relate to either. So, and that was all I had. And then I went off the stage. It was complete silence the whole time. It was so bad. And then I was going to go home and cry, but I was like, I need to see what these other comedians do to make them better. And it was a tough crowd, but that's when I realized, I have almost no tools. Like, I had 2 stories and that was it. But you need so much. You need like one-liners. You need like crowd work. You need all of it to bring a crowd together and know how to. And it's like mixing recipes. And so I watched, like, most of the comedians didn't do well, but the headliner, who was from New York City, been doing comedy 30 years. Yeah, he goes up there and he does everything, and he finally got the crowd around. You know, and he had to deal with like a lot of other sorry ass comedians prior, except for the host being good. But I just remember that I almost quit comedy because. I was like, and then at that point, I go, oh shit. All those times when those ladies were saying, oh, everything you're doing is perfect. I was like, actually, no, it wasn't. I wasn't getting a full accurate response. Like, some of them might have thought it was good, but I needed to go everywhere. So. Yeah,
there's just something. That's why doing horrible rooms really gives you an idea of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Doing, places where people aren't there for comedy and you're basically bothering them. I don't know if you came to my open mic the other night.
I haven't been to yours yet.
Yeah, come by. Excited. We are just bothering people having dinner. It's a good time.
That's where comedians are made, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But there is something about those rooms where you have to fight for people's attention, and you can tell when people don't do those rooms.
Yeah.
You know?
And actually last night, because I did a lot of dive bars in Tucson, I wasn't scared of that room. I was more like, okay, how can I make this work? But
well, last night there was nothing.
Yeah.
They just didn't have a good enough speaker. There was
you couldn't hear. If you
couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
It was insane even continuing the show, because what we were asking of those people at that point was like, here, just listen to people talking that you can't hear for an hour.
And then it was like,
of course they're just going to start talking to each other. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, because, and then also I noticed, like, when nobody's listening, sometimes comedians will talk faster, and that's even worse because nobody can even hear.
Literally, after I finished one of my punchlines, I saw a woman in the back go, "What do you say?" And I was just like, "What?" So I was just like, "I think I'm done." And I had like a better set than most of the people last night. I don't mean to but that's what it was.
I still had fun.
Yeah, no, and I mean it's fun, and we got paid. So hey,
that doesn't
makes a big difference.
Yeah, dude, comedy is such a trip.
Where was the first place you ever got on stage? Like the first, like even an open mic, not like the first.
Oh,
club
you mean for
did,
comedy, not for other things?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, not for other things.
For
I don't care.
No, I don't.
What'd you do? Dance or something? Whatever, Sylvia.
No, I actually I had a career in dance, but not stripping. But I had an actual career in dance. But in terms of,
I wasn't making a stripper joke, but now that you did, I feel like I should have.
For people that don't know, I did. Like I studied dance for, 15 years. I performed professionally. But then for the last year, I decided, hey, I'm going to try stripping because I want to make money. And I was a worse stripper because I never took clothes off. That's a real thing. Right. I was just retarded on the stage. Oh, I don't know if we're supposed to say retarded.
Whatever. Hey, it's Arizona. You're okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, someday this will
I'm not in Oregon anymore, Sylvia. I'm free.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, freedom. No, but okay. Oh, back to your question. I have ADHD. I'm going on tangents. But my first stage I thought that there was only one open mic. I didn't know that there were such things as like dive bar open mics. So the first one I went to was Laughs Comedy Cafe.
Nice. That's a fun mic. I've done that, I think, twice now.
Yeah. And
I've been meaning to go back on a Thursday sometime.
Yeah,
just
it's good. It's a good mic.
Just meet the people a little bit, like it's a club in the state. I'd love to work there at some point. So and it's like a historical club.
Oh yeah. And
super cool. It's been there since the early 90s, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And they have a few others sprinkled throughout the country. I don't know if they're still in existence.
Really? Huh.
But yeah, that was my first time. But I had signed up maybe the month prior. I kept every week signing up and then getting too scared and crossing my name off and leaving.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And I did it over and over. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? I don't have to do comedy.
It's so funny the first time you come off stage and how you feel like about having done that. You're like, why didn't I just do it? Like,
yeah. And you feel like you could do anything. Like I was like, I can do anything because I face that fear. And then I went to my second, and the first time was pretty good. You know how, like, when they announce you, oh, it's her first time, people were nice, they were laughing.
My God, it makes a difference.
People afterwards were like, you're great. And then, they're just like, you did it. You faced your fear. And then I went to a second open mic. It was the worst ever. I
bet. That's always the case.
Yeah.
Because they don't tell them it's your first time that time. Dude, the other day at Stir Crazy, Lamar was like, hey, we got this next comic coming up. He's like, you know what, man? I'm not gonna say anything till after. And calls this kid up. Kid bombs for 3 minutes. Gets off stage. He's like, man, that was his first time ever. Isn't that something? I was like, oh man, you should have told him before.
I know. That's the worst.
That poor kid, dude. He fucking could have had a better set.
Yeah.
For sure. People are so nice the first time. One of my favorite stories about that is this happened here in Arizona a couple months ago. I was at like a dog shit mic at like Tempe Tavern or something somewhere, and it's just a bunch of comics. And there's some guy on stage we've never seen before in our life. And everybody's just freezing them out. They're either talking to themselves or just staring at them with a blank face. Because they're like, who's this clown? Some guy from LA we don't fuck with. And then halfway through his set, the kid goes, man, like, this is my first time. Like, I thought it'd be a little different than this. And the comics immediately changed and started laughing at all his jokes and being nice. And it was just like the funniest thing to watch it happen in real time. Like, oh, we're being dicks to this poor kid. Like, imagine if someone had done this to our first time performing. Yeah. Like, that would be so, and like, we all took it personal and was so nice to him all of a sudden. And then as soon as like, you know, now he's going to go up. The next 30 times they're all going to do that to him anyway. So what difference does it make?
Dude, it's funny that first time versus the second, because like the second I went to a dive bar, kind of like Tempe Tavern. It was House of Bards. It's not happening anymore there. But there was this comedian, because I'd gone and watched comedy a bunch before I, you know, tried it for the first time. Yeah. And there's this one comedian who's since like my friend, but and he's a really funny guy, but he used to do a bit about he could smell a dirty pussy. Okay.
Well, you can't.
So. No, you can. But so anyways, so I thought if I was just cute doing my little bit, people would pay attention. Nobody's paying attention. Mm-hmm. And I realized what an attention whore I was at that moment, because nobody's paying attention. They're looking at their phones. I was like, is this what comedy really is? And, you know, I was doing like horrible material. And then he had just gone up and talked about how he smells dirty pussies. And so I just yelled his name out. He didn't even know me. And I go, Connor, is my pussy dirty? And everybody looked at me and I was like, mission accomplished. People are looking at me again.
Yeah.
But it was so bad because I just was like, why did I put myself through this and sink myself so low? And then I called a friend of mine and she just laughed. She was like, I wish I was there to watch you bomb. That would have been awesome.
No, I think you're being hard on yourself right now. I think you did a good job by going to something that everybody in the room was aware of. This guy had just said, like, I can smell a dirty pussy. Yeah. So by making that reference, it's a reference they all get. Yeah. Sometimes crowds need you to show that you're in the moment with them. It's one of the best things that you can work on at open mics, because like a lot of times you go to an open mic and try to run your material and the comics are just gonna fucking phase out. But if you're like, all right, what's going on in this room? Is there anything that I can make funny about that? Sometimes it's
Is that what you do?
Sometimes at mics. Sometimes at a mic, there's 20 people there that aren't comedians and they're sitting attentively, and I run basically a club set for them. Yeah. But most of the time, it's fucking 3 people and 15 comics, and probably I'm going to try and say something funny in the moment and just work on stage presence and trusting myself to riff, because I don't do that at clubs ever.
Yeah, I don't even know how to riff. I like every time I try, I just start.
I think when I was about 2 years in, I think I felt the exact same way. Yeah. And it probably took me a little bit longer into my career. My career.
Oh, I keep forgetting we're being filmed. I'm all slouching. No, I'm like,
you're fine, whatever. Who cares? Nobody's going to watch this, Sylvie.
They're going to watch it.
Yeah, my 30 listeners.
Yeah. They're going to watch it, and then they're going to reference it when you're famous.
Yeah. I mean,
going on tours.
How cool would it be if one of us got famous and people were watching this video one day and they're like, oh, what if both of us got famous in 20 years?
That would be kind of
cool. And then like somebody found this and they were like, look at them. Like they knew each other 20 years. There's moments like that in comedy for sure, where you're like, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so were close. It's like, they lived together in San Francisco in
I love that.
1995. You're like, oh, weird. Yeah, it's cool.
And it's cool seeing like, I like the Phoenix comedy scene because it's bigger, but it's also cool seeing all ages here. Like, I mean, obviously a comedy is for all ages, but like seeing somebody like Sandra, is her name Risser? Mm-hmm. And Phyllis, Risser, Phyllis Warren, or is that her name too? Yeah. And it's just cool seeing that, like, you can just, as long as you keep going and get better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They're both great. Yeah. And they're, up there. I don't know how to put it politely.
No, because I feel like I'm pretty old starting, and I remember Sandra came up to me and she goes, I wish I started as young as you. And I thought,
what?
Because she started when she was 61.
Wow.
And she's like 80 or something.
Crazy.
And she's been doing it 20 years. And
it's so crazy.
It's pretty badass.
61. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But like, that's such a comic thing. Yeah. Comics are nuts. It's the most like insane group of people I've ever been around.
I don't think I could have done it younger because I don't know. It would probably destroyed me.
I didn't even think about it until I was,
What made you start?
I was doing meth, and then when I quit doing meth, I started shoplifting, and that wasn't like much better than meth. Yeah. So I needed something that would excite me and make life not boring. That wasn't shoplifting or meth, and I decided comedy. I was either
meth to comedy. It seems actually pretty.
They're very
straight,
similar in a weird way.
Yeah. Don't you have a bit like that? Or no?
Yeah, kind of. I talk about shoplifting a lot. I talk about meth a lot too. They're similar, especially shoplifting, but even meth in a weird way. They're similar in the feeling you get, whereas like when you're like about to shoot up, that's like when you're about to get on stage, and then you're like, you go through it and you're like, whoa, it's like a rush in the same way.
Yeah.
And then shoplifting's the same. Like you're putting all the things in your basket. That's like building a set list. Then you're like getting ready to go out the door, and you get all that anxiety.
Yeah.
Of like, it's the same feeling of when like I'm about to go on stage and I'm like, oh shit, is this gonna go okay? Like, are they gonna laugh? Are they not? Like,
am I gonna get caught? Wait, but
right? Exactly. Am I gonna get caught? Yeah.
But they haven't had very strong laws for shoplifting, do they?
I don't know. I don't.
Because they don't anymore. Like during COVID, I used to work at Whole Foods and also Trader Joe's, but Whole Foods, like people would come in with shopping baskets and fill them with alcohol, and just walk out the door. And we were told not just to let them go.
Right. No, for sure, it's easier than it used to be. I was in a small town in Oregon.
Oh yeah.
And I was putting a lot of stress on one particular corporation that will remain unnamed for now. But like, I realized, I was like, they for sure are like, notice all these things missing.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time before they figure out who it is. So I have to stop.
Yeah.
So that was where I was at.
Well, it's good you're doing comedy now.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I'm doing better than I've ever been in my life, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And even bombing every night.
Well, dude, I was going to ask you, I don't know if this is what you want to talk about on here, but I was going to ask you, so you recently hosted at Stir Crazy. And what is that like hosting? I mean, have you hosted a lot before?
I used to host an open mic in Eugene every week until I got tired of it and started booking people to host it instead of me and just doing time at my own mic. But yes, I've hosted a lot. And then I've hosted at a couple other clubs, a small club named Infinity Room in Salem, Oregon, who I have a lot of love for. They're really good people. And Savage Henry, which is a club in Eureka, California, and they're incredible people. I have a lot of love for them too. So I'd hosted at both of those clubs. So I was pretty confident, but Stir Crazy is by far the most, like, I don't know how to put it. Maybe, I don't know, the biggest room I've hosted in.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess it's probably about the same size as the club in Eureka. So but
that's cool. Yeah, later on I'll have to ask you tips for hosting and stuff.
Well, we can do it now. Because you've been booked to host there.
Yeah, actually,
January?
I haven't. Yeah, at the end of January. That was awesome. And I said yes, and I'm a little bit, freaked out about it.
My advice is host as much stuff as you can between now and then so that you're comfortable hosting. Because it's a different skill, and people think it's so easy. Oh, it's just saying this and this and this.
No, it's not.
It's not. Yeah. Just that. And there's a lot that goes into it, and it's important that you don't forget like important or little shit, like remember to tip the bartenders. I don't know, like I have a little spiel I get at the end, at the very end of the show when I go back and say goodbye, where I'm like, make sure you tip your bartenders well. Please don't drink and drive. Getting home safe. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, because I've been wanting to start my own open mic, but I just haven't found a place yet.
You should start your own open mic. Nothing will make you a better comic than hosting a mic. Yeah. Especially an open mic where you have to fight for people's attention a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where every time you get on stage, like, you're trying to like say something that calls all the attention. Like every comic's just losing the crowd and you're trying to bring it back after every comic. So that's what hosting a bad open mic does for you.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is just a club owner told me one time, he said, when you're hosting, being likable is much more important than being funny.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, me too. And it's it's a strange way to think. It's like it changes your perspective a little when you hear it. You're like, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? It's like, okay, get rid of all the fucked up jokes. Yeah. Right? Like,
which are most of mine.
I don't know. I can't think any of your jokes, but that probably means they're not that fucked up. Honestly, they can't be. That can't be that bad compared to the rest of the Phoenix comedy scene.
Mine are pretty mellow.
Yeah, as long as you're not doing like Holocaust jokes that get mics canceled.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so dumb. Fucking there's like not enough mics right now because a bunch got canceled because people can't fucking
handle
go
themselves.
like one day without saying horrible shit.
Yeah.
It's like, can you just wait till Tuesday when you can do this at Tempe Tavern?
Yeah.
And nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. I've heard some other shows of yours here, and how you said you moved here, or I moved to Phoenix just because I wanted a bigger scene and more mics and stuff.
Yeah.
But now that a lot of them are getting canceled, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, it sucks, dude. It sucks that mics have to get canceled because people want to say horrible shit.
Yeah.
It's like, like the scene knows me. It's not like I'm woke, like you can't say this, you can't say that. Comments. That's not me.
Being cool,
right?
Like, being cool when you go to mics. Like, don't be an asshole and just start saying horrible things to the crowd, or
right.
Yeah.
If you're crushing with like 3 comics and nobody else, everybody else looks uncomfortable. That's not a good sign.
Yeah. Maybe change your tack.
Yeah. What else would I say about hosting? And then just remember that your job is to serve the show. So like nothing's really about you.
It's the greater show. Yeah.
Yeah. And just have that attitude.
It kind of reminds me of like, so after I stopped dancing, I was a stage manager for a while for different shows at the University of Arizona. And it kind of reminds me of like, you have that overview and you're kind of keeping the machine going pretty much.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's exciting you're hosting there for real.
Yeah. I'm really excited, but apparently I have like some kind of, like ever since that happened, I'm kind of freaking out about it. So I just need to get up more and chill a little bit more and not be such a perfectionist and wanting to be perfect and
do the
not
mic,
give a fuck.
Do the mic as much as you can at Stir Crazy. Go hang out on Wednesdays even when you don't get on the list.
Yeah.
And just let him know, because the more you're comfortable on that stage, it'll help. You know, me too. I love Lamar. Lamar's the shit. Yeah. For real. Real good dude.
Yeah. Sweet.
He just reached out to me about renting all of this equipment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a bunch of podcasts he wants to do, I guess.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll figure it out. We'll get him in here.
That's awesome.
What else? What are your goals for the next year?
My goals
in comedy
is, okay. So I know a lot of people are always trying to get shows. Mine aren't that. It's more, recently I started having panic attacks, like massively, like even before open mics, and more handling that. Another goal is to consistently write and actually become a better writer.
That's a good goal.
Because right now, like, I realize I have ease being on stage because I used to perform and dance and comedy. I mean, not comedy. I used to. Now, in musical theater.
Sure.
So I have ease on stage, but except for the panic attacks. But I just realized, like, my joke writing, it's not super strong. I can't just come up with one-liners, so I need to get a lot better.
Yeah. You know? Good luck. That shit's hard.
But yeah, okay, so I would say, like, figure out how to handle panic attacks. Still don't know how to do that, but write more, write
just
consistently.
Writing,
yeah. And then the third one is to start an open mic. And it's kind of smaller goals, but like this last year, it was really weird. So in Tucson, there was a lot of weird shit that went down, and at the end of, I think it was, at the end of last year, I just said, I was really like frustrated with a lot of things going on in the scene. And so I said, fuck this scene. That's what I told some friends when I was really drunk. I go, fuck this scene. I'm going to start going to Phoenix and LA and get gigs. And they're like, whatever, Sylvia, you're just drunk talking. And I was like, you watch me. And they didn't believe me. And then what happened is something happened. Like, I think I was like, fuck it. And I drove to LA and I auditioned for some like flappers, and I got in, and it's not too hard to get into that club on the lower end, but I auditioned at like Comedy Chateau and some other places. And then I just started driving up to Phoenix and doing like one mic a week, or not one mic a week, but driving up one night a week and then trying to do 3 mics and driving down. And then something opened up where, I mean, I think for a lot of shows, like when you're first starting, especially the lower end shows, they usually need a woman in it. So a lot of times I get booked and I'm like, I know my comedy's maybe not at the par of the other comedians, but I was like, fuck it, it's stage time.
I've been talking about this with a friend. It is easier for women in comedy to find to get opportunities.
Yeah, initially.
But it is harder to actually be accepted by like the scene.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Because sometimes like at this point, I kind of just wish I was like, people just treat me like a dude, and I want to be like a dude. And then what invariably happens at a lot of the mics is, and then I'll get back to what I was saying, but is like initially it's kind of like you're roasted, but in ways you just don't want to be like because I'm older, everybody's like, look at the cougar. Oh, she likes to fuck young guys. Like every mic, somebody's
Sure,
up there if they don't have material, or she's great. Like she looks like she'd do a gang bang, and you kind of become immune to it. But then I'm like, it's not totally cool. And I know that's why a lot of
what the rampant sexism in the Phoenix comedy scene is
but
totally
it's everywhere.
cool.
No, but it's everywhere. It's
yeah, in comedy in general.
Yeah, and so you kind of get like tired of that. But God, I'm so random with. But so I just started getting when I said like back to the point. So I just started getting a ton of gigs from hustling, like coming up to Phoenix, making myself known, auditioning, getting on Flappers, and then I got so many gigs this year. I mean, for a new, like relatively new.
I agree.
I got so many that I realized I don't have the material. And I mean, they were 5-minute sets or 10-minute sets, but I don't have enough material to be doing as many gigs. And I wasn't writing. So I was doing the same thing over and over. And so I got to see a little figment of what a road comic was in a very small way, where I was like, doing 2 shows, like a show in Tucson, a show in Phoenix, drive to LA, drive back to Phoenix, do another show. And so I guess I'm like on a tangent, but my point being is I got a lot of stage time, but that's when I realized, oh, I need to get funnier and I need these jokes to be good. And I need a lot more material because I've just kept recycling the same jokes, the same 5 minutes over and over.
Yeah.
So like
you get sick of it.
Yeah. And I'm really sick of all the stuff I have and I think it sucks. And then, so I just, right now I'm like, I need to just get material and become funnier.
It sounds like writing more is a good goal.
Yeah. So that's kind of my focus. And then, I mean, if you're good, you're going to get booked. And at this point, I know I'm still getting booked because I'm just everywhere. Like I show up, I work hard. Sometimes I'm funny, sometimes I'm not. But, and then also the female part, I'm getting booked
right now.
But I'd like to get to the point where I'm actually getting booked because they're like, oh, she's fucking funny, like consistently. Yeah. And I know I'm not there yet, but I figure if I keep doing it, something's going to shift.
To being self-aware is always going to serve you well.
Yeah,
so there's that's a lot healthier attitude than somebody that's like, man, I deserve all these spots. Why am I not getting booked? Like, that's not never going to serve you well. It's always healthy to want to get better and be funnier. So, as much as like, you shouldn't be too hard on yourself either.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so hard.
You're only going to get good at, like, there's only so fast you can get good at comedy. So
that's what I hate.
It's important to remember that. That's what we all hate.
What about you?
Years.
Like, what kind of goals do you have or targets do you have for the upcoming year or a few years?
I'm trying to break into more of the clubs. Like I'm kind of in or whatever at Stir Crazy.
That's cool. Yeah.
But there's only going to be so many opportunities there, even being part of their people that they like. So trying to get out to the other clubs and get my name out there a little bit more. I just bought this insanely expensive video camera. So using that to
it's cool
to up the podcast a little bit and like I think I'm gonna get like a backdrop back here that maybe has like a logo that says comics only or something, just
you do a video
become a little bit
running in the red flowers. You're all
Look at that fucking painting. It's so weird. We're in like a doctor's office right now. Just
I'm gonna get my teeth checked right now.
Spending some effort making the podcast a little bit more official and making it look good now that I have a camera and figuring out what I want it to be. Because, I wasn't getting that many views or listens, I guess, when I was doing audio only. Yeah. And I wasn't even bothering to put it up on YouTube because I didn't have video. So it's like, get a little bit more official with that. And then also use that camera to shoot more sets. Yeah. And be a little bit more diligent about putting out clips and trying to build my social media following.
Yeah. Do you have a point of view about like putting out clips too early? Because I know a lot of people when they just first start, they start putting out clips. And sometimes like,
Yeah, I think it's a little insane when comics that are... I'll use around where you're at, about 2 years. Before that, I think it's a little insane to put out clips. I mean, I didn't post a picture of me doing comedy the first year I did comedy, which I think is kind of rare. And then, It wasn't even a couple years after that until I put out clips at all. But I'm not saying my way is the right way.
Yeah.
But it is important to like just be sure that what you put out there is something that you're proud of and want people to see you doing. But I have one more thought. On the flip side of that, it's like if you're a new comic and you had a good set and the video looks good,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, because always
there's going to be people that gatekeep based on time.
Yeah.
And that's like not cool. It's like, oh, you're so new, you shouldn't put it out. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, because like when I see like all those clips, they're hilarious. A lot of them,
and Aldo's so new.
Yeah,
and I think he's about 2 years into it.
Yeah, he's brand new.
And he's been putting out clips for a while.
Yeah,
and Aldo's blowing up more than anybody. So like, anybody who's hating on him is an idiot. Yeah, basically. You know.
No, I was just wondering because well, because I was watching. Like, I never loved Jay Leno, but when I went to Flappers, I watched one of his like practice sets at the main room. And he was so fucking funny, but he was also telling stories of his life. And then he also said he refuses to put clips online because then people don't have the surprise when they come to his shows, which I thought was interesting.
I don't think anybody's watching my clips and coming to my show, so I'm not worried about that at all. Yeah, I think Jay Leno's kind of a unique circumstance that he's also been amazing. Famous since before clips were a thing. Yeah. I don't think you need to do clips.
He's also a very he's been doing comedy for 30 years. I'm like,
he was a famous comedian.
Yeah, prior
2 decades before clips were a thing. Yeah, so
it was awesome. Yeah.
I don't think he needs them. I think the rest of us do. Yeah. Like, I think by about 4 years in, you're falling behind if you're not putting clips out and building an audience. Yeah. How many people follow you on social media matters. If clubs care about how many people know who you are, that translates into them moving tickets. Yeah. You know, if 20,000 people know who you are, that's a way better chance that some people are going to buy tickets to see you than if 5,000 do or 1,000.
Yeah, totally.
So a lot of comics want to pretend it doesn't matter, and it does. It sucks. One of my least favorite parts of comedy is like, in fact, it's kind of changed my whole thinking around it. One of my least favorite parts of being a comedian is the idea that you have to chase fame, and you have to chase. Don't. Well, you kind of do, especially now.
You think you have to chase it? You don't think it just? Or
you have to put yourself out there. You got to be putting out clips. Like, you got to chase it.
I guess it's like, what's your definition of chasing it? Because like putting out clips and just making yourself known is one thing, but I thought you meant like people like going out there and like desperately like going to clubs and going like, book me or something.
No, I don't think that's healthy, but I think you do need to like know bookers and reach out to them. Yeah. Like, for sure, people are just forgetting that you're an option sometimes. And if you're not just like reaching out to people, being, hey, like, you got anything for me? Yeah. And it's hard to know if you're being annoying or not. A lot of that is just like the better you know a person and how much they like you, the easier that can be. Like, it's a lot easier for me to reach out to Lamar and ask if he has any shows than I don't know, Stephanie at House of Comedy, who doesn't really know me at all. Like, I feel weird texting her, whereas Lamar, I can hit him up. And I know he knows that if he says, I don't have shit for you, I'm cool. Yeah. So I'm not bothering him to ask him because he knows he can say no to me. You know?
When you said chasing fame, I was imagining you like chasing after Steve Harvey or something like that. That's how I imagined it.
No, I just mean like trying to cultivate fame for yourself. Yeah. And I don't really like that. I hate putting out clips and wondering why this one got 100 views and this one got 10,000.
It's so stupid, the stuff that gets like 10,000 sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, and other people are getting views and you're not, and you're wondering why. You're trying all the different hashtags. I hate all that shit. Yeah, I hate it a lot. And honestly, it makes me think, like, the more I've been thinking about it, the more I think I want to run a comedy club.
Oh, that would be cool.
Rather than try to be like a touring comedian.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think it would be. And
you could set like certain rules and precedences and
sure, you could have whatever rules you want, but also you wouldn't have to travel to make money. Yeah. Like the idea that you're just like have to be on the road every weekend or you don't get paid. Yeah. So like, I don't know if I want that bad. I don't want to chase being famous that much where you're just
every time you say chase fame, like I always run into movie stars, like especially when I was a little bit younger, but I'd always like not recognize them. Weird. It was like the weirdest thing. Like right when Pink became famous, I had no idea it was Pink. Like I'd heard her on the radio, and I was like, I've had so many different jobs. I was working behind the scenes in this film with this film company, and she's like at a pool, and there was a bunch of other musicians. So I was like, "Oh, is your band playing later?" And she's like, "Yeah, it is." And I said, "Oh, what's your band name?" And she's like, "Pink." And then I was like, "What's your name?" "Pink." And I was like, "That's cool." And then I turn on the radio and it's like #1 song, Pink. And I was like, motherfucker.
Huh. That's funny. But I mean, it's better to not be like, oh my God, you're so-and-so. Like, you know who Kyle Kinane is?
Yeah.
Yeah. He, at a show one time in Oregon, I was working the door. And he walked in, and I didn't recognize him. I'll just go, "What's up, dude? You got a ticket?" And he just looked at me like,
he was all mad.
He was like, "I just need to talk to Rudy, who's the guy producing the show," and just walked by me. And as he walked by me, I was like, "Oh, that's Kyle Kinane. Word.
Yeah.
He's probably doing time tonight."
Yeah.
But like, my point was that I was glad I didn't recognize him, and just like, "Oh my God, it's you! Come on in, sir." Like,
it'd be dorky.
Right? Yeah. It's better to just be cool.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask you, I guess it's like your other podcast, or is it almost time to be over?
No, we got 20 minutes.
Oh, sweet. I'm just like random thoughts. Was when you made the transition into comedy and then you're getting off drugs, was it weird being around a lot of people that do drugs and drink a lot? Or is that a weird transition?
No,
or you were away from it enough that it's just like whatever?
Yeah, nobody around here is really shooting meth, so it's different. You know?
Because it's not like if they're doing other drugs, it doesn't affect you.
Not really. Okay. You know, like there's a lot of people that do cocaine in the Phoenix comedy scene. It's not like it's going to make me relapse on a drug I didn't have a problem with. It's fine, you know.
I was just wondering.
No, I like being around degenerates. It's fun. It makes me feel alive. Yeah. And it kind of makes life exciting even when you're not like doing drugs. I like that. I love that aspect of comedy. You feel like you're in like the dirt with some people. Yeah. And it's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like all walks of life.
Yeah, exactly. When you get down to it, really, there's a nice equality to comedy where it's like people just care if you're funny. Yeah. It's just be funny. That's all that matters. You'll be accepted. Yeah. You know, and the only times that like the community turns on people is when they try to skip that step, when they want to be accepted without being funny. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not how it works. Yeah. You know, and we all have different ideas of what's funny. And like, you know, sometimes it takes time and, you know, but that's what it is at the end of the day. Yeah. That's all people care about. Yeah. In the comedy scene. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how do you come up with material?
I write most mornings, and my writing process is pretty simple. Whenever I think of something that kind of makes me giggle or laugh or that I know is funny or interesting, I'll write that premise down. And then I write early in the mornings. I drink a bunch of coffee, and I write for an hour at about 6 or 7 a.m. Whenever I wake up, my first thing I do is write.
That's actually the best. I've heard that that's the best time your mind is most creative.
It works for me. Yeah. I can't write. I'll skip the day entirely if I don't have a premise to write about. Yeah. Like, I can't sit at a computer and think of shit. Yeah. But if I have even a couple lines, just like, let me pull up my notes real quick. I'll see if I have any written down. If I have even just a couple lines of a premise, then I can like usually churn out some words about it. So right now I have something that's like, I was going to eat off their plates, but the waitresses here are hot. So I didn't want them to. Okay, so somebody left food on their plate. Yeah. And I was like, I was going to eat it, but the waitresses at Tempe Tavern are hot. So I was like, fuck, I'm not going to do that here. Yeah. Yeah, they're hot and they hate comedy so much. Yeah, it's so funny, dude. The only time I've ever gotten a reaction from them is when I've like mentioned how much they hate comedy, and they're just like, whoa. Yeah, they wish it would stop so bad. Yeah.
They're so nice. They're really sweet, those girls.
There's a new waitress that hasn't been there very long, and she's so nice to us, and I'm just waiting for it to turn.
Yeah, totally. That's so funny.
Like, man, so it's just nobody's hit on her yet or anything. Okay, we'll get there at some point. But some comic will make her feel uncomfortable.
I know that will be very fast.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, this
So
scene is
many
insane.
people.
There's like a dark side to the like freedom of speech ethos in Arizona, where it's like we really value our right to say whatever we want here.
Yeah.
There's a real dark side to that.
No, totally. Well, for me, it was weird because I had studied like for years. I was around mostly all women because I studied dance, and there would be like 1 or 2 gay guys, and then a bunch of women.
Sure.
I mean, in general, that's how it typically was.
God, comedy's gonna be such a fucking mind fuck.
And so I was used to that, and I was actually used to really supportive, and nice females, and really sweet gay men. And so then when I came to the comedy scene, I was like, it was the opposite.
And everybody's being mean to women and gay people.
Yeah, except like initially all the guys are pretty nice to you because they want to fuck you, or like maybe I don't know if they wanted to fuck you, but
nobody was nice to me because they wanted to fuck me.
No, but like that's how it was initially. They're really nice. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is so awesome. You know, like they're so nice. And then, you know, you really get to see the real side.
Yeah.
So, but it was kind of confusing for me because I also like mostly like performed with women. And so like even roasting jokes, I was like, what? Wait, what? I'm so stupid. Like I really was going in like kind of innocent.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, cause I was in entertainment industry. I saw some of the other stuff, but yeah, it's a totally opposite. So I've gotten a thicker skin. Fun. Yeah.
Do you ever think about leaving Arizona?
I always think about moving.
I dream about it every day.
I love traveling. Like I love traveling to overseas, but I was like, would they get my comedy? But in terms of moving, I've always loved New York City. Like
New York would be so fun.
I have family members that live there, and I wish like one of my uncles lives on the Upper West Side like in Manhattan, and he has a rent controlled apartment that's only $500 a month.
Damn.
And I was like, can I live there or stay there? And he's like, no, only if you became my gay lover. And I was like,
that's a lot. I have to transition, get a surgery, and then incest after that. Like, whoo.
I mean, and he wasn't recommending that, but it was still like, he's like, only if I marry somebody, you know. And so, but besides that, I don't know why I told you that, but
it's funny. It's one of my favorite jokes I've gotten to make all day. I love gay incest jokes. Gay trans incest joke.
Yeah, so I love New York City. I haven't been there since post-COVID, so I don't know if it's different. I mean, I've seen pictures of some of the people.
It's probably coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the arts there. They have amazing Broadway shows that you can go for relatively inexpensively because there's something in Times Square called TKTS where you can get same-day tickets for really like inexpensive. However, I heard post-COVID, I've heard a lot of people say it's like New York's not the same, but
I bet it's coming back.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, I think that would be awesome.
I bet during COVID it was not the same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for a while I was thinking California, but driving to California, it's turning into such a shithole. I feel like, especially LA, but maybe not San Diego.
San Diego seems cool.
Yeah, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then just hearing so much about Austin, but I don't know if I'd want to live there. How about you?
I don't think I'd want to live in Austin.
Where would you like to live?
If I could live anywhere, money not an issue, I'd probably choose Denver or San Diego.
Denver would be cool.
Yeah. I don't know how I'd do in the winters there, but it's right in the middle of the country. Yeah. It would be real. Like, there's no like long flight from Denver, so if you were touring at all, it'd be cool. I'm like years from touring, so it's funny I'm even saying that. But
dude, it's hard. Even driving, like I haven't been touring, but just driving back and forth it's brutal on your body.
That's what I'm saying about being a touring comic. Yeah. It's like I was thinking about it, and it's like, do I want my income to be tied to traveling? That seems insane. Like, if you set up a comedy club somewhere, you could be a center of community.
Yeah,
you know, where you're like, you're running an open mic and you're hanging out with like 30 comics on one of the nights a week. And then the rest of the night you're doing shows and hanging out with whoever's on the shows.
And you're bringing in like amazing people.
And it's like, I know there's a few clubs I know of that are run by comics and they still tour and do like, Nate Jackson has a club in Tacoma, Washington. And he's
that guy,
huge
Joe Rogan?
and does theater shows. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, right. Joe doesn't really run the mothership, but
I know.
For sure funded it and like hired the people who do.
Yeah, I mean, he's an up and coming comedian.
Yeah.
No, but
Who are we talking about?
I heard this guy named Joe Rogan. I think he has a podcast or something. Yeah. No, but like also living, like I've always wanted to live overseas. Like I love traveling. Well, it's not really overseas. Like Vancouver, Canada is pretty cool.
Vancouver's cool. That's
one of my
not
favorite
overseas.
But I love Rome.
It's over.
I love Rome. I would love, I know people are like, that's the craziest place to want to live, but like Rome would be cool. I love Ireland. People have the best senses of humor there. Yeah. But I don't know if I could live there. I like Europe.
Ireland seems depressing.
No, it is depressing. Yeah. It's like, it's overcast, but the people there have the greatest senses of humor.
Yeah. Because they have to.
Yeah, they have to. Or
suicide.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Same with us.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, don't talk about it. No, it's like too much sun.
I'm like, one more joke so I don't kill myself tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's why. Okay, well, so I got into comedy because somebody told me I was funny at some spiritual workshop.
Nice. Those are good people to listen to.
Yeah. Apparently, no, because apparently I wasn't like spiritual. I would just say what was on my mind. Like I remember this one time, like everybody was like they're saying they're cleansing, and I was like, I went to the mic and I asked them a question, and then I said, I'm cleansing too. I've crap like 4 times a day, and like it feels like a spiritual cleansing, and people are like, what? But but back to the point about killing ourselves. Mm-hmm. No, so somebody told me I was funny and I should be a comedian. I was like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not funny. And then during COVID, what kept me going, because I felt pretty suicidal during COVID, even though I was working, but I was single at the time. You can't touch anybody. Like I was like, and then like I couldn't even go salsa dancing or whatever.
Right.
And so I got depressed. And so before they closed down all the clubs, or they closed them, a lot of them, but then they opened them up pretty fast in Arizona. I just started going to like open mics, and laughing totally started, like kept me going, even though they're telling dick jokes or whatever. Most of those guys kept me going, and then watching like Netflix. And so I was like, I wonder if I could create that for somebody else. But, I might be creating more depression just going to the open mics.
Just bothering people.
Bothering. Yeah, and if not, I'll just annoy people to death.
Yeah, who cares?
That's good.
Nothing matters, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Just have fun.
Yeah. It would be cool, too, to live in Japan, don't you think? Like, I keep looking at, like, these pictures over there look like Europe.
I don't know if I'd want to live in Japan, but maybe, I think I would love to visit. Yeah. I don't know. I think being in America is probably where you want to be for comedy.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. Like I know if somebody moved from New Zealand to Portland because he didn't feel like anything was going to happen for him in New Zealand.
Yeah. Doing comedy in Japan might not translate.
Yeah, even
culturally.
There's some expats that you could go for. There's an English speaking comedy club in I think Osaka.
Oh, really?
I think
cool.
Yeah. So for sure, there's kind of a scene. I know one of my good friends from Oregon.
Yeah.
Ran comedy shows for 10 years in Korea.
Yeah.
And brought out a bunch of people. Brought out like Kyle Kinane was a big one that he brought out, and I forget who else, but a bunch of people to Korea for shows for expats. So everywhere that there's like an expatriate scene, there's a comedy scene.
Oh,
but like how big it is and how much you really get to do time compared to here, I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot more time here.
I think you're probably doing 2 nights a week in most of those places at most.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know that for sure. But.
And Phoenix is pretty big. Have you thought about visiting Austin? Have you visited there and done
comedy?
Haven't.
I would like to visit. I don't know when. I would love to go when I had, for some reason, a little bit more of an in.
Yeah.
There. I guess, I don't know. This next weekend, I'm on a show with Cam Patterson. Do you know who that is?
Oh, totally.
From Kill Tony.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
I love watching Kill Tony.
So, like, hypothetically, if we, like, connected and he was like, hit me up if you're ever in Austin, then I probably would. But without a reason to.
And you know Celia, right?
Yeah, I know Celia. She's cool. She's on the show, too. Yeah,
I saw. Yeah, that's going to be cool.
Yeah, that'll be a fun show.
Did you watch her win? Or not win. Like, did you watch her win Kill Tony?
Did you watch her win Kill Tony?
It was winning.
It felt like it, dude.
No.
It felt like she was winning that night. No, there's no winning Kill Tony, but she won that night. She's awesome.
Because she had already been on it a bunch, but then when it was like, hey, you want to open my show like for Tony? And then it was like, Roseanne, you want to do all my dates?
Did you see the clip of Roseanne saying that she's fed up with the deep state bullshit?
No.
Dude, she's at a Trump rally. No, it's from like 2 days ago.
No,
she's at a Trump rally going, I'm fed up with the deep state bullshit. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I think I know why Celia might have canceled those dates on her. Like, I was just talking about this with somebody. They're like, do you think it's weird Celia didn't do all the shows with Roseanne? I was like, I think Roseanne might kind of wear on you.
Well, I was thinking it might have been the travel because Celia hates travel.
Yeah, that too.
That's like,
but that too.
If you have like a
I
massive
think maybe
fear,
a lot of things might have contributed to it.
State. I have to find that clip.
I'll send it to you. It's insane. It's awesome.
I like
it's
her.
Cool. She's cool as hell.
She's awesome. Yeah, I do really like watching Kill Tony. It's pretty fun. Like just seeing those 1 minute comics that think that they're awesome, and you're like, oh shit.
It's insane to me that people do their first time on that show.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you think that's how like your comedy career starts is you go up on Kill Tony for your first time and then like they are impressed. Like that's not.
One of my buddies in Tucson, his first time he went to Kill Tony in Phoenix and did it, and he only got he was just I don't know if he was drunk or what. He went up and he only did 10 seconds or 15 seconds and then he was like, I'm good. And Tony's like, no, keep going.
Hey, what the hell? What do you mean you're good? That's insane. No, you're not.
And it's cool to see him like a couple years later. Just he's so much better.
I'm so surprised he kept with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I imagine most of those people just stopping after they're done.
Yeah. And that same show, there was a guy, I've seen him around here, Emilio or something, Figueroa.
Yeah.
It was his first time too.
Interesting.
And they just roasted him hard. It was funny.
Emilio's cool. I like Emilio.
Yeah.
Let's see. You got any shows coming up?
I have lots of shows.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
I have a show that's not comedy coming up. That's storytelling. I know that's kind of a weird thing.
Where's that at?
That one is at that one came about really weird. It was just synchronicities or whatever. But it's at the Great Puppet Theater, and it's I just through different connections. Somebody asked me if I wanted to storytell. And it's for just
that's cool.
It's really cool, and I think it's for a bunch of like really rich people.
I want to get it. Oh, really interesting. I want to get into storytelling,
but like because I think I'm naturally like a storyteller, and I've been trying to translate it like into comedian, but I don't. I sometimes deep down feel like I'm more of a storyteller than a comedian. Like I still feel like that. Do you ever feel like what is it, imposter syndrome?
Of course,
doing comedy.
Yeah,
I guess most people. But I
think most people. Yeah.
I guess my next gig is the 17th. It's I don't know when this is coming out, probably soon. November 17th at the Great Puppet Theater, and it's a storytelling event.
That sounds fun.
Dirty Bits.
I want to get more into storytelling. I have friends from Denver who were telling me that they started a storytelling show there, and it grew to like be a theater show. Yeah. And they ended up making like thousands of dollars from it. And it just started as like
I feel
basically
like it is.
An open mic.
And it's actually really cool. It was just like random. It's kind of like a bunch of misfits. There's and they're all telling like a dirty story from their life, but not like too dirty, but like one used to be a dominatrix, but she looks more like a comic book nerd now. Yeah. And then somebody else is like, I guess a famous drag queen. I didn't know. And then somebody else talked about being in a bathhouse once and then I'm going to do my skydiving, vomiting into a mouth story, which they seem to really like.
Sure. Too bad we didn't get that story on this podcast. Plug your social media or anything like that.
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I do need to start a website, but at Sylvia.Remington, and that's with one M, and that's where all my shows are. I have a bunch of shows coming up in Phoenix and in LA.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was.